In this video, we're going to look at our new functionality, which is called close conversations. So essentially what it allows you to do is to mark any conversation threads that have been completed by your staff as closed. So typically in a support or a customer service environment, you might be dealing with email threads and a customer says, thank you, that solves my concern. So this gives you a way to signal to our system that it has been closed. And the way that this works is in two ways. The first way is to either create a closed at mailbox that you will use to forward any email that has been completed. So not any email, the end of any email conversation. So that's important. Not just every email that you've dealt with, but once an email conversation or thread has got to the point where a customer says, thank you, you can forward that final email to closed@yourcompany.com, and our system will pick up that it's been closed and mark it as such. So I'm going to just show you how we do that. So I'm under Tools, Settings, and under the company block you'll see something called Close Conversation Settings. If we click on that, you'll land on a page that explains our close off conversations functionality. So essentially you're now going to start seeing 4 different statuses for each conversation. If something has been sent internally, you'll see that it's been sent internally. If something is awaiting a customer response, that means that you were the last, your company was the last entity to send an email. So the ball is in the customer's court. If it's awaiting an agent response, it means that the last person to send an email was the customer, and the ball is in your court to respond. And if it's been marked as closed, it means that you have signaled to our system that the conversation is closed. So the way you do that is you'd create your own closed at mailbox. We've created closed at timetoreply.com on our own account, but you would have closed at yourdomain.com, for example, and you'd enter it in here, and you'd click add email address so that it appears like it does on our system. Once that is in place, let's say you've got a conversation that's had 10 emails back and forth and the customer says thank you. Now you don't have to reply back to that customer. You can simply just forward that final email to closed@yourcompany.com, and our system will mark it off as closed. And to see this, if we went into logs, conversation logs, and if we look down here, what I've done is I've switched off internally, I've switched off awaiting customer response, I've switched off awaiting agent response, and I've just said what is closed. You can see that under the status, all of these have been marked as closed. Okay. Now, what this allows me to do is once you've actually marked emails off or email conversations off as closed, if you toggle all of these off and you click awaiting agent response, that'll give you a list of conversations where you genuinely are required to respond, or your team is required to respond. So that's the way it works. Another way that you can close conversations is simply by selecting it. So let's say this is actually has been closed. I can click it and I can click mark selected as closed, and the status will update to closed. All right. For Gmail customers, we have now introduced support for filters, and we are shortly going to also allow you to close emails by use of your own label. So filter by label, we've introduced, sorry, not filters, labels. So you could have a label like completed, and if we see that label, then we'll mark that conversation as completed. Great. We hope you enjoy the new feature.